Welcome to this podcast edition of Tech Talk with Craig Peterson. Remember that this podcast is private property. For more information about Tech Talk, visit techtalkwithcraigpeterson.com.
And now, here's Craig.
Welcome back to Tech Talk with Craig Peterson. We're talking about some of the latest technologies, and we're seeing a lot of movement in a space that many of you are using every day. We've all been involved with telecom to one degree or another. Way back in the early days, and of course Judge Green breaking up the big monopolies way back when. I still remember that. We really threw quite a wrench in things. All the way to today, where there are more options available for businesses and of course individuals as well than ever. So we're going to talk right now with a consultant here. In fact, a whole company that helps businesses and others understand telecom and what it is all about, called APTelecom. You'll find them online at APTelecom, telecom.net, AP, the letters. And Eric Handa is our guest. He's the CEO. So we're going to talk with him a little bit about what's happening with cloud connectivity now, what is happening with the new global world and the whole telecom industry. How do businesses and others stay in touch? Eric, welcome to Tech Talk with Craig Peterson.
Thank you, Craig. It's great to be here.
Well, we've had a lot of changes over the last 20, 30 years, and of course, things have accelerated here pretty dramatically. So I noticed that you guys are consultants in the telecom industry, so I thought it'd be interesting to have you on to kind of talk about what the trends are out there. So first off, what does AP Telecom do for businesses or others?
AP Telecom is a facilities-based consulting provider. We specialize in emerging markets, specifically for submarine cable connectivity all around the world. Most of the global communications data, video, and voice traffic is transmitted over submarine cables, and we help with pre-sales and financing for those cables to get built and enable communications on a global basis.
Now, that is something I don't think most people think of. In fact, I know most people I talk to think that their cell phones are connected directly to satellites overhead, which, of course, isn't the truth. And if you've ever experienced some substantial delay in communications, it's usually because it is using satellites. These underwater cables that you're talking about here, those are, frankly, the best way, the best from expense and from the amount of data they can handle and how quickly it can get it there. That's true, isn't it?
Yes, Craig, that's absolutely correct. The amount of throughput, which is the payload, how much capacity you can put on a fiber cable underneath the ocean between, say, New York and London from point A to point B, is greater on a submarine cable than it would ever be on a satellite uplink. It's also much, much more cost-effective to use fiber, subsea fiber.
And of course, with the sunspot activity we've been talking about a little bit on the show recently, you don't have to worry about your satellites getting knocked out of orbit either. So you're helping who here? Now, you've got these cables. You mentioned you help with the financing, getting everything all set up. Who's putting in new submarinal cables?
Well, there's numerous cables being built around the world with regional hubs such as Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, London, New York, Los Angeles. We have some very large clients. One of our clients based here in the United States is TE Subcom. They're a turnkey provider of global submarine cables. They build, deploy, maintain many of the world's cables around the world in terms of the submarine cable capacity. They've built, I believe, almost 500,000 kilometers of submarine cable from Asia to the U.S., to Africa, to South America, and points in between.
Now, Eric, one of my kind of sayings here, if you will, on the show has always been that there's two things that are absolute truths when it comes to data communications. Of course, we're using it for Skype, for our tablets, for our phones, etc. And those two things are, one, there will always be more bandwidth. And number two is there will never be enough. So I'd have to imagine that with the huge blossoming of data on our networks internationally as well as domestically, but particularly when we're talking about these types of cables, it's international. I'd imagine everybody's got to keep laying more and more of these. Are we going to run out of bandwidth? How close are we to kind of topping out right now, or are these different providers trying to keep ahead of things?
Well, with the impact of technology, Craig, it's definitely a requirement to have diversity and resilient paths to get from point A to point B. So, for example, if you were coming into Boston or New York and all the cables landed in one place that were crossing into Beantown or into the Big Apple, you really would be creating a single point of failure. So one of the main drivers that the subsea space requires is diversity. Diversity creates a mesh ring and a elimination of a single point of failure. So there is ample capacity, but there certainly is not ample diverse capacity. Diversity is very, very important for network planning to enable networks to remain buoyant, to remain up, and to remain at our disposable usage, in particular during a crisis period such as a storm like Sandy that the eastern seaboard of the United States recently had, or during a catastrophic event such as 9/11.
We're speaking with Eric Handa. He's CEO of APTelecom. You can find them online at aptelecom.net. They also have .com, AP as in the letters A, Alpha P Papa, aptelecom.net. So you mentioned putting these lines in. You mentioned helping businesses and, in the telecom industry. And I would imagine even a little bit outside of that, getting everything all set up. And in order to do all of this, you need money. And I assume that there is a lot of investment going on in the telecom industry right now.
There is, Craig. Most of the investment for submarine cables and fiber builds is going on in emerging markets, and that's where AP Telecom specifically has its sweet spot or core competency. We have a large client in Africa in the nation of Angola. Angola is building the first submarine cable connecting Africa to South America. Angola is a oil-rich, beautiful country. I just recently was there on the west coast of Africa, and they're building a new system called the SACS cable, SACS, South Atlantic Cable System, that is connecting Brazil to Angola. It will be the first cable ever between Africa and South America. And the reason why we are seeing this cable being deployed and built is that new trading blocks are emerging, direct bilateral trade that didn't exist a decade ago to any large extent between Africa and South America, or, say, China and Africa. And again, these cables and these new trading blocks are lessening the dependency on the United States and Western Europe as more emerging markets come into their own and grow.
Frankly, I think that's a good thing. Here again, it's diversity, and diversity of economies is something we need too. And you're talking now about them being able to communicate directly, and it's data, it's voice, and I guess kind of that's the bottom line, right? Data breaks into 100 million different things.
That's right. The way technology has grown and advanced over the last decade with IP networks, a bit of data could be a packet of email. It could be a VoIP-based compressed call. But effectively, it is data at a very high end being transmitted from various continents to another.
Now, is this changing the big guys out there, the way they're doing their communications? For instance, Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, all of those guys are huge consumers of data because, as you mentioned with voice over IP, bottom line, everything nowadays is data.
Craig, that's a great question. And a lot of the large telecom companies, such as Verizon, AT&T in the United States, or in Japan, NTT, or in Australia, such as Telstra, they're really at a crossroads. they need to decide how they're going to compete. Their core voice market is being eroded by products such as Skype and other VoIP operators, alternative options. They need to move up the value chain and offer services such as cloud-based solutions in order to compete and preserve their top-line revenue, given the technological changes that are happening so quickly in our industry.
And in the future, we've got about a minute and a half left. What are you seeing with telecom? Obviously, more bandwidth.
Yes, the emerging markets are going to continue to be more important to U.S. and Western European companies. We're seeing a focus on location. The term BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, China, is a bit overrated, and it was about 10 years ago. APTelecom likes to believe that there's a new group of countries we call MAVEN, M-A-V-I-N, the MAVEN markets. So Mexico, Angola, Vietnam, Indonesia, Nigeria. We're very bullish on Indonesia and in particular Angola. These MAVEN markets will grow as regional hubs, and this growth will contribute to a tremendous amount of regional activity and bilateral trade that's going to happen in the next 5 to 7 years globally, in particular within the telecom space.
Well, that's going to change the whole world economy, frankly.
Well, we've seen it with aviation. We've seen it with shipping, new lines opening up, whether it's the Northwest Passage or whether it's direct bilaterals between China and Africa that I mentioned. And telecoms is a very important infrastructure that needs to be in place in order for commerce and communications to happen.
We've been speaking with Eric Handa. He's CEO over at APTelecom. That's where you'll find them online, aptelecom.net. And we've been talking a little bit about what they are doing. They are a leading facilities-based telecom consulting company, as well as a service provider, and they really specialize in the global connectivity, emerging markets, as you heard Eric talking about here, cloud solutions, and they do a bunch of advisory work as well, aptelecom.net. Eric, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Craig. Have a great afternoon.
And of course, as we go forward on today's show, a lot more about the latest in technologies. And visit us online. All of the social media comes from one place, craigradio.com. We'll be right back.
This show is for entertainment purposes only. If you want real advice, pay Craig next time. You cannot rebroadcast, requote, or cite any of the information aired here without the express written permission of the show's owner. Craig's ultimate goal is to rule the world, but until that happens, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.